Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I am Nicodemus Kane. Today is July the 26th of 2022. I never did figure out what I had going on yesterday. I guess it was nothing, but it just seemed like July 25th should have been something that I should have been doing or knowing something that was happening. I mean, there's things that happen in the world, sure, but in my own personal life. But I never did figure it out. So I guess it wasn't important. So there you go. Yesterday yesterday I kind of got sidetracked and I talked about a lot of different things. Um, Today I'm just going to go ahead and read Isaiah chapter 20 first, and then we can talk about other stuff. That way I can at least say that I got through it. Because yesterday, once I hit the 30-minute mark, it was like, well, that's the point of no return. I might as well go ahead and keep talking. But today we'll read this first. We may or may not talk afterwards. Who knows? Make sure I got my Strong's Concordance up because there are some names that we might need to know. Real short chapter. It's all of 6 verses, so we'll get through this pretty quick. So start. Isaiah chapter 20. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon the king of Assyria sent him, and fought against Ashdod, and took it. At the same time spake the Lord by Isaiah the son of Amoz, saying, Go and loose the sackcloth from off thy loins, and put off thy shoe from thy foot. And he did so, walking naked and barefoot. And the Lord said, Like as my servant Isaiah hath walked naked and barefoot 3 years for a sign and wonder upon Egypt and upon Ethiopia, so shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptians prisoners, and the Ethiopians captives, young and old, naked and barefoot, even with their buttocks uncovered, to the shame of Egypt. And they shall be afraid and ashamed of Ethiopia their expectation, and of Egypt their glory. And the inhabitant of this isle shall say in that day, Behold, such is our expectation. Whither we flee for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria, and how shall we escape? And that is it. So let's go back up through it, figure out what all of these things are, what it means. Starting from the top. In the year that Tartan is a title used by the Assyrian military. It's a marshal, a general, or a commander. It's an Assyrian. In the year that the Assyrian commander came unto Ashdod. Ashdod is a major Philistine city in the Mediterranean Sea, west from Jerusalem. It means powerful. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon, the king of Assyria, Sargon, prince of the sun, because they're sun worshippers, when Sargon, the king of Assyria, sent him, and fought against Ashdod and took it, which means that this Assyrian general came unto a powerful city and took it. At the same time spake the Lord by Isaiah the son of Amoz, saying, Go and loose the sackcloth from off his loins, and put off thy shoe from thy foot. And he did so, walking naked and barefoot. So he did this, got naked and walked around barefoot. And the Lord said, Like as my servant Isaiah hath walked naked and barefoot for 3 years for a sign and wonder upon Egypt and Ethiopia. He walked for 3 years naked and barefoot. So shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptians prisoners, and the Ethiopians captives, young and old, naked and barefoot, even with their buttocks uncovered, to the shame of Egypt. So it was a sign. He made Isaiah walk for 3 years just to show the rest of everybody else that's how the Assyrians were going to lead the Egyptians and the Ethiopians away, prisoners. Take everything they had. I mean, when you're completely pulled down to nothing, and even we read, what was it? Was it in 19 or 18? They said they would take them and they would shave them down, shave their beards, and shave their hair. It was one of them. But when you are stripped completely of nothing and you are taken prisoner, and that's it. You know, you've completely lost everything. But God had to show them an example. And he used Isaiah. He said, like as him, he has walked naked and barefoot for 3 years for a sign. To show them. This is the way it's going to be. This is what's going to happen. And they shall be afraid and ashamed of Ethiopia, their expectation, object of hope and confidence. You can hope for the best, but you're going to be afraid and ashamed of them because this is what you're going to get. And of Egypt, their glory. You're going to see this, and you're going to understand that this is how it's all going to fall apart. You're going to be taken. You're going to lose everything. You're going to have nothing. Because again, you stepped away from the Father. He said he would protect you with everything he had in his power. All you had to do was just listen. But nope. I'll take everything away. And the inhabitant of this isle shall say in that day, behold, such is our expectation, whither we flee for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria. And how shall we escape? How shall we get off of this island from this king of Assyria? How this is what's coming for us. So that we will know, that crazy Isaiah guy that's out there talking to God, that's telling us that we're going to have everything fall apart. He's out there running around buck-ass naked, no shoes or nothing. He's been out there doing it for 3 years now. God keeps telling us, that's what's coming. That's what's going to happen. And what are we going to do? We're going to have to understand that that's coming for us. Now, is it possible to change and turn it back? For them, no, because that happened in the past. But there's a message there. It is possible to change and turn it. Who was it with it was Jonah. Jonah went to, who did he go to? He was told to go to the people of Nineveh. Yeah, that's what it was. It took me a second to remember. I couldn't remember the name of the city. He was told to go to the people of Nineveh and tell them, that they're going to have their wickedness come against them. they've been bad enough that I'm going to have to bring that hammer down. So he told Jonah to go, and Jonah said no, he didn't want to. He went to flee to Tarshish, of all places, because he didn't want to do it, because he was fleeing from the presence of God. And so what happened was, on the way to Tarshish, he got swallowed by a whale. Spent 3 days, is that right? Spent 3 days in there, and then whenever he got spit out, he went to Nineveh and told them, and they were you hear me? They were able to get God to repent of what he was going to do to them. And that's something that people, when they talk about how the wrath of God comes down upon a city, it's not something that they talk about very much. They have the ability, the people have the ability to turn. They have to turn and believe in God and give their hearts and stop being so wicked and evil. And God will turn back from it. He will say, "Okay, you've decided, you're going to be good now. You're going to quit being so wicked and doing all these things that I told you just not to do." And it's not like he's barking orders at you. He's basically saying, "Look, you stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing that, or else all this stuff's going to come on you. And you're going to get so bad to the point that I'm going to have to put a stop to it." It's basically what it is. And when the entire city decides that they want to turn away from evil, come back to God, God says, "Okay, fine. You guys prove to me that you can be better than this." He gives the people messages all the time. He tells them constantly, if you choose to do good, to do right, to be better than the wickedness and evil that I know is coming, then I will save you. Now, of course, this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, these people are, they're just not, they're committing crimes, they're robbing each other, they're hurting each other. It's worse than that. We're talking about the vile, degrading stuff that possibly the stuff, whenever it gets to the point of Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, I don't want to say that, Nineveh's getting that bad, but you never know. I mean, there's got to be a point. There's got to be a point where God finally says, "Okay, enough's enough. We're stopping this right now." Now you got to remember, whenever it came time for the flood, he said every wickedness that man can think of, he's doing. And it was, according to just about every other book we have before the flood, I mean, it was giants eating each other, giants eating humans, humans eating humans. It was just wholesale craziness is what it was. And he had to put a stop to it. You're talking about the Tower of Babylon, when the entirety of the world had gotten together and said, "We are going to build a tower up to God, and we're either going to We're either going to kill him, we're going to put new gods in his place, or we're going to become gods. And God had said, if this continues, every evil they can think of is going to come to pass. So he had to put a stop to it. And it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm sure that he had sent people in there. We may not have ever heard it, but I'm sure that he had sent people in there to tell them to stop. I mean, that's one of the things that the Bible says that we're supposed to do anyways. Go tell the word to all the people. Tell them that there's a better way. So I'm sure that there were people in there. I mean, Noah was talking to the people for, 120 years before the flood actually came. So I'm sure there were people that were there that were trying to tell them, stop. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, the same way. There was probably people in there, Lot himself may have been one that was telling the people, look, you need to quit. Because you got to remember, whenever the angels came into the city, the first person that went and told them that you need to hide away was Lot. Because he knew how bad the city was. And somehow they found out, and the entire city, young and old, you got to remember exactly what the Bible says, young and old, came out to get a hold of these angels. And you hear all the other stories that I've talked about in Jasher and Julie, and then, whatever else that we've read. And I think there was some in the Apocrypha too that kind of talk. I don't remember exactly what it was. There was some other thing I heard about Sodom and Gomorrah. But then you kind of put these things together, and I've talked about, maybe some of these medieval things that might have come from those eras, where they talk about how degrading, how degrading they could be, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah could be to strangers. Again, there's that line that if you couldn't fit on the bed, we're either going to stretch you to fit, or we're going to cut off limbs to make you fit. Or if somebody new walked into town, they stripped them down completely. What was it? They stripped him down completely. And then what they would do is they would give him his gold back, or give him gold, but they wouldn't let him spend the gold in the city to be able to buy back his own stuff. And he would have to leave naked. I mean, that's some cruel shit. But you have to remember that the kings that were there, they let that happen. There was a rule on the books that said you can do anything you want as you please, because nobody tried to stop it. You're telling me that a gigantic mob of people trying to bust down the door of a house, trying to get to quote unquote know two strangers that walked into their city, you don't think that would have aroused the police at the time? The guards, if they even had guards, because apparently open sex in the streets, apparently open theft and robbery, apparently corruption and crime and all of these other things. Apparently they were just open in the streets. That's the kind of wickedness and evil that it could build up to, because it builds. Evil builds. You may start out small, but it just gets bigger and bigger because you're going to want more and more and more. So it just gets up to a point to where God says, look, I'm going to step in, because if I let this go, it's going to get so far over the top that there won't be anybody left. It will just be pure evil, and they will continue to rise and go. And what these people do is they lay traps. They will trick good people into turning into bad people. We hear the stories constantly about the Israelites, that every single time they let strangers in mingled with them, and started adopting their gods, started adopting their rules, started adopting their policies. They let a man be a king to rule over them that God did not choose. And he wound up being corrupted. It's the old saying, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You put a man in a place where he can have ultimate power, he's going to make evil rules that only benefit him and his friends, which is exactly what you see now. We've allowed corrupt families to constantly breed out more evil families. And now we are being overrun by these families. And the whole world is falling apart because of it. I've talked about this before. If you let evil multiply, all you will have is evil. So somewhere along the line, God sends a messenger. He's been sending messengers constantly for the past however many years, trying to tell us. And a lot of people, me included, have just not listened to him because we thought it was silly. We thought it was, oh, yeah, it's just, you're just saying that, just to take all of our fun away. You're just saying there's not really a thing happening here. If the people of the city will listen to the warning and turn back from their wickedness, God will turn away from dealing with them. Not a lot of people believe that. Some people think once God puts down a word, then that's it. You're going to get it. As when God says, I'm going to punish you, I'm going to wipe this city off the map, people think, oh, that's it. God's going to wipe this city off the map. There's nothing we could do. Let's just go be as wicked as possible. No, he sends people to warn them. Look, if you don't turn back now, and for some people, he'll send them a sign. There's Jonah, spent 3 days in the belly of a whale. Wouldn't you think that if you spent 3 days in the belly of a whale, that you would probably be pretty messed up? I think it was it Rob Skiba that said that, it's entirely possible that Jonah died when he was swallowed up and he was resurrected and then got spit back out. Wouldn't you think that, some half-eaten corpse that came out of the belly of a whale would have been just a sign and a half for these people to stop and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe this God thing's kind of real. Maybe we ought to start listening. Maybe. God will give them a sign. He says that we're supposed to look to the stars for the signs of what's coming. Look to the seasons for the signs of what's coming. Look up and look for the signs to know. And we're supposed to preach the word. Tell the people. Show them the signs. As far as I'm concerned, that is enough to convince me that we should be showing everyone the symbology and signs that the enemy uses constantly against us. Show the people. Tell them. Always tell them, look, this is how they do it. This is what they use. This is the numerology they've used constantly. This is all of these things that have happened, all of these these events, these false flag events, these things that they use against us to make more and more and more rules. Look, they all line up with these numerical values. Find some way to get the people to turn. Show them the signs. God said he will make this plain for us to see so that we will know. We will know the signs so that we will understand. Now, I know it's hard. A lot of people don't want to hear it. I think we talked about this. Well, we've talked about it constantly because people don't want to hear it because they're too busy living in their unrighteousness. I get that. But there's got to be something. There's got to be a way to use that symbology that they've used against us for years back against them, to open people's eyes, to say, this is happening. This is a real thing. Look at this. Look what these people are doing here. Look at what's going on there. Just open your eyes. See what's coming. And again, the Bible says if they don't want to listen, walk away. If they don't want to listen to it, walk away. They're going to be lost and stuck. Find other people. Find strangers. Tell them. Walk naked in the streets for 3 years. You got it. It's one of those things. So being, I'm not saying that I am anything special, that I was chosen for any reason whatsoever. God decided to wake me up. I know that much. I'm not a perfect person. I am not a perfect human being in any way, shape, or form. But he told me, you need to stop what you're doing and start talking. Start trying to get the people to wake up. You know, because this used to be my YouTube channel. I used to do video game commentaries, and I loved doing the video game commentaries. It was real fun. I actually started, getting a couple people that were coming in and enjoying it, and I was having a good old time doing it. And when I started waking up, God started slapping me upside the head saying, you need to quit with your video game nonsense. You need to start talking about things you see. So I started doing that. I did that Minecraft thing for several months. I'd just sit there, I'd play Minecraft and I would just talk about conspiracy theories. And some of those are crazy. I go back and listen. I actually listened to one of those the other day. It was about a month and a half ago. I went back and I was listening to that, and I was talking about stuff that I've completely forgotten. It's been so long since I was in that frame of mind. But again, back then when I was talking about it, YouTube, this was 4 or 5 years ago. YouTube was still somewhat open. I mean, it was still kind of the Wild West of YouTube, where the search suggestions, the next video suggestions, would actually feed you what you were watching. If you were watching something on, Flat Earth, they'd pop Flat Earth right on you, the next video up. Or they would, if we were talking about, that was way before mud floods though, giant trees, or if we were talking about, giants, Nephilim, they'd show you the next thing. They wouldn't do this thing now. Now it's if you watch anything like that, the next video will either be something that's dismissing what you just watched, or they will try to give you a major news channel. try to get you back into the order of it all. Show you what they want you to watch. But back then, man, you used to be able to just let it play. And it would just be video after video after video. And I used to sit there at work with my headphones on and just let it go. Just let the channels just run. And I used to just listen to all kinds of stuff. And it was amazing. It was awesome. Now it's a lot harder than it used to be. Now it's like you have to really search out what you're looking for. 9 times out of 10, you can't find it. And again, I say half the stuff I used to listen to is gone. But back then, I was listening to so much. But eventually it got to the point where God just said, you know what? You're going to quit playing games, and you're going to start talking about it. You're going to start really researching this. You're going to start using the Bible, start using my word in order to tell them. And that's what I started doing. That was whenever I started going into the different books, going into like Jasher and Enoch and all the stuff, and using the actual Bible, started reading out of my actual Bible, bought an actual Bible, because the Bible I had before was something that, somebody had given me. So I had to go out and buy my own. I was like, this is mine. This is mine now. People got on to me because I bought one. I was like, so what? Believe it or not, people actually got on to me for buying a Bible. I am happy. This is my Bible. I can say this is mine 100%. Of course, they also got mad at me, or not really mad at me, but they did the whole thing where it's like, why would you buy KJV? I was like, because I wanted one. Why? What does it matter? Man, people just get so fussy about this kind of stuff, They really do. I use KJV because it doesn't feel as corrupted as a lot of others. It's corrupted. I'm not going to say it's not corrupted. There's things inside the KJV that's just like, yeah, and none of them's perfect, And none of them perfect at all. I'm not going to go with the ones that, want to constantly add stuff into it in the little, what are they called? Hyphens? Not hyphens. What are they called? The brackets? Whatever. I'm not gonna go listen to those where it says that, it's only in one. It's like the NIV constantly does it. It's just like, you compare two of them. I'm not there yet. When it's time for me to have two different kinds of Bibles and put them side by side and compare them, I'll get to that point. But that's not where I am right now. But where I am right now is God's telling me that apparently I need to read out the punishments. Apparently we read out the Psalms. And the Psalms give you an understanding of the world you're living in, and they also give you an understanding of how God can help you. And now I'm being drawn to read Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, which are books that say what the punishments will be. Not only that, but there's a couple of them that say, this is how bad things got. So because things got that bad, this is the punishments that I'm going to deal out because of it. But that's what God did. He slowly brought me to that point. It went from just talking about conspiracy theories to actually just recording me on video talking about it to, slowly but surely breaking me down to the point where I was, reading the Bible more and more. And then once the nonsense hit 2 years ago, and I didn't do anything for a long time. That was whenever he started saying, you need to read the Psalms. Because I was reading them by myself, And he was saying, you need to read these to people to give people some hope, because there was a lot of people that were kind of falling apart and breaking down. And then he brought me to this point. So I'm not going to say I'm a person that's here to tell the world that you need to do this and this and that. I'm going to tell you that God has pulled me for some reason to start saying these things, to try to get people to understand. If I am supposed to be a messenger to warn people, then hey, maybe that's who I am. I don't know. When he decides that I need to go out into the streets and start talking about this stuff, he'll get me up to that point. Right now, he tells me that what you're doing is okay. I've seen other people do it though. I've known guys that have hit that point that they are told, you need to take it out into the streets. You need to start getting with people one-on-one, telling them what's up. I've heard stories. So many times I've heard stories of guys that have said, I was told by God I have to go out into the streets. But there are so many others that, they were told, look, just try to save one this way. There are messengers constantly trying to tell the people, you need to wake up, you need to quit, turn back. And I think it's possible. I still absolutely think it's possible. I know there's a whole other aspect to it that maybe it's not, but you have to remember there will always be a remnant. There will always be a remnant of God's chosen that will preach his word, that will carry his word through anything. And they are the ones that are going to be chosen to lead people through this. I'm definitely not one of those. I am not one of those. I'm going to be one of those that winds up falling from the, dying by the sword. Those that live by the sword die by the sword. And I am not going to be taken by these people. There's no way. I'll be one of those that gets thrown to the lions because I won't listen. I'll tell you that right now. Whether God decides to forgive me for that or not, that's going to be between me and him. But I'm going to tell you this much. I'm not going down without a fight. Anyways, that's all I got. That's really all I got. I don't have anything else. The takeaway from this, Isaiah was told by God to show the people what will happen to them. Isaiah walked naked and barefoot 3 years for a sign and wonder upon Egypt and upon Ethiopia, so that they will see what's coming. And it was the Isle of Ashdod. They saw that, and they said, such is our expectation. Because that's what's coming. And the whole city could have seen that. And they could have stopped and they could have prayed and they could have said, God, please forgive us, help protect us. But they didn't. They were more worried about, where are we going to go? How shall we escape? It is always possible to avoid the judgment. It is always possible to avoid the wrath of God. Is that the people have to turn. That's all he wants. He's not going to force you to do it. He's going to show you, if you don't turn, these people are going to come and they're going to bulldoze right over top of you. And you're going to lose everything. Naked, shoeless, hairless, chained up, walking through, slaves. You're going to lose everything. But the Father can save you. The Father can help you. All you have to do is turn back. If that makes any sense. Makes perfect sense to me. I don't know if it ever makes sense to other people. I'm sure other people probably hear it and say, no, that's not it. Once God's judgment is said, it's final. And all right, okay, if you think God's judgment is final, that's great. I've got a story about Jonah and a whale where he went and told them, God said that, all that's coming upon them, and they turned back, and God repented of what he was going to do unto them. So take it as you will. It wasn't just Rob Skeeby. There was like two other guys that I remember said it. I can't remember their names. They said that the judgment will come. The judgment will happen. God promised us the judgment will come. That doesn't mean that the judgment has to happen in our generation. We can still save people. So choose now whether you're going to try to save people or whether you're just going to be one of those that is going to try to find a cave in a mountain to hide yourself away. You got to choose which one it's going to be. And don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to tell the truth. Don't ever stop trying to wake people up. Quit focusing on one person. Try to find the world. Try to wake up the world. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to record videos and just talk. People may call you names and call you stupid and say all these things about you, and they may never understand. But at least you're trying. You're going to find one person that does understand. You're going to find one person that does understand. And that person may or may not be able to take something that you say, just that one thing that you say, and turn it around and use it for somebody else and get that other person to change. That's just, don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. Don't ever be one of those guys that's like, oh, I'm giving up. Nobody's listening anymore. I'm giving up. That's it. It's over. Don't ever be one of those people. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Always keep pushing. We're all only trying to save one. If all of us only try to save one, and then those people only try to save one, and then those people only try to save one, it starts multiplying. Sooner or later, somebody's going to get saved that is a mouthpiece, that knows how to do this, that can go well past the point that, any of us can do, understands how things work, that can not only turn one, they can turn many. But that person has to be told first. So don't ever give up. I'm going to stop it there. I will talk to you guys later. God bless every one of you. Don't give up. It's always something. Always keep going. So I shall talk to everyone later. God bless y'all. Take care of yourselves.